Hey guys, Yoshi on the go here. Welcome back to the channel and my little corner of the internet. Today, I've just got some thoughts about Back 4 Blood. We've got a lot of great gameplay and a lot of great information thanks to the closed alpha test, which I did sign up for, but unfortunately I didn't make the cut, so I'm not able to play it for myself. But we're going to take a look at these trailers, and there's some really exciting new things that I've noticed that I'm really looking forward to in Back 4 Blood. Let's just jump on in. The following is Back 4 Blood pre-alpha gameplay. It's looking pretty good. So the first thing, obviously, is that we've got the safe rooms. The safe rooms are back. Obviously, Turtle Rock Studios created Left 4 Dead and pioneered that whole like sub-genre in the FPS game thing. And so there's still going to be chapters, and at the end of each chapter, at the end of each section, there's going to be the safe house. They're called something different, though. Nice pep talk. So the first thing that I really liked, maybe we should turn this down a little bit, is that there's a lot of like banter. Watch out! You get a bullet, and you get a bullet, and you get a bullet. So I don't know if this is just the cinematic gameplay trailer that they're pumping up a lot of audio quips and things like that. Because I know in Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2, there's just like a third of the game, data-wise, is just audio recordings, which is pretty impressive. But that's because there's all these really specific interactive features. Obviously, there's a lot of like, hey, pills here, health kit here, I need ammo. Oh, I don't feel so good. Like Spider-Man.
I don't feel so good.
Ah! But there's also some really specific things that the AI director in Left 4 Dead can dictate, like if you fully heal, or if you get into the black and white heart pounding mode, and then you fully heal, and then you get back into the black and white heart pounding mode, that'll trigger a specific dialogue. Or if characters A and B are dead and only C and D are left, they have specific dialogue that you'll only hear when that circumstance is met. And so, anyways, I'm looking forward to this. I'm hoping that this is just part of the game, just all that all of that. It reminds me of Spider-Man a lot, honestly. Speaking of Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good. And so hopefully, instead of just contextual things like, here's this item, or I don't feel so good, ogre, or I hear a witch, there's a lot more of that playful banter, and it seems like there is. In Left 4 Dead, really all you do is like you pull the magazine out, and then you put a new one in, and it's just like that, and then you're back to shooting. Now this one, it looks like it takes it a step further and goes through a more carefully concise animation, which is kind of cool. And I'm wondering if that has anything to do possibly with the difficulty. Like maybe if the harder difficulty goes through a longer reload animation, and the easier difficulty, it just takes the magazine in and out, and then you're back to blood. I don't know. That remains to be seen, but I do like how it's a little more tactical. I really like how that fire works too, or that fire looks. But yeah, so having confirmed that we've got the safe houses, so the sections and the chapters, as well as the banter, the reload animations, those things are all looking really, really good. Now let's look at the next video really quick.
Getting out of here is the key to my happiness.
So more playful banter. Blood splatter is really dynamic. Just all over the back of this. Ugh! Look at that blood. Let's look at that one more time, please. Like, so all over like that side of the door, then on the inside of the door, and then just all over that back wall and the windows. So there's some really cool dynamic blood spray effects. That it's not just like a really low res like blood pattern, like a JPEG, like it's splattered on. It's like an actual physics rendered thing is what it looks like to me, which is amazing. Now, one question that I have is the doors are destructible, which we'll see in a second, but some doors have alarms and some doors don't. But then when you play through the map again, the door that has the alarms, it might not have an alarm anymore, so you can break through that and you can see like what's in that room without consequence. One thing that I'm curious about though is how now it's now called the game director. It's not the AI director anymore. Or what I'm curious to learn is how much that affects also the geometry or the path through the map. Because I know in Left 4 Dead 2 they took that a step further. A lot of like set pieces and sections, you could have a variety of paths, like the graveyard or like the park. There's a ton of different ways and paths that dynamically change every single time. I mean, the path that you take through the Mausoleum Cemetery, every once in a while it'll be completely new. Like, whoa, I've never been on this path before. So I'm really hoping that the game director will do that. So how dynamic is that? Is it going to be the same, like you have to go up this staircase and then down this staircase and then through this way and then back the other way? Or is it going to be different every single time? Hopefully the AI director has control, or the game director has control over the path, which would just be amazing. Oops. And like there's this broken floor stuff. Will that always be there in this level? Or will different spots in the apartment be broken? So the Stinger is probably the newest enemy that we've seen. That explodey guy works just like a boomer, but the Stinger is really cool because it's like it's got the extra arms, it's got the Machamp arms, and what it does is that it spits like this spiderweb type of fluid on you, which slows you down or could completely incapacitate you and freeze you in that point because it's just too sticky. You can't get out of the web. And so that's a very new sandbox, a very new exciting sandbox feature. I can't wait to play, see how that zombie plays in versus mode. Boomer. One other thing that I've noticed is there isn't really a whole lot of music. So in Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, you get a lot of music going on. Uh-oh. My edge light is spazzing out. Is that there's always those musical cues in the background, as well as certain cues when a certain zombie spawns or if there's an incoming horde. And we don't have any of that yet. So I'm wondering if that's just not going to be a thing, but it probably will be a thing. We're just waiting. Like they said for this alpha the next couple days, they're just working on gameplay before they work on graphics and other aspects of the game. And so this is interesting. We just got exploded on. But it looks like, so there is some, so we see that little foggy filter, and that also changes the audio dynamically, which is cool. But we had that effect in Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 1, so we can see that the doors are fully indestructible, or fully destructible. I'm wondering if there are other elements that are destructible, or not, because that would be interesting. That would be interesting from a gameplay perspective. I don't know, that remains to be seen, though. But
Who needs bullets when you have bombs?
that's a pretty cool explosion effect. Looks good.
Ollie, what are you waiting for? Let's go.
Corruption cards. Oh, yeah. All right, now this brings us to the next, probably the biggest difference with Back 4 Blood is these corruption cards, which basically are, they're just game modifiers, kind of like in Halo when you find the skulls and you can turn on the skulls to change how the game works. Except for this one, the corruption cards, it's just the game director telling you, hey, this is what's going to be different about this next upcoming round, which I find fascinating. And you can also collect your own cards that you can play against the corruption cards, which modify things. They can buff your health, make you heal faster, help you find or make weapons and ammo spawn more frequently, things like that. And so I'm very curious on how that card collecting works, in addition to just the game director and just each level being completely dynamic and unique. Now, on top of that, we have the corruption card layers that change things even more. This can be things like more fog or less fog, or night or day, or rain, or more of a certain type of zombie. Let's see, so Stinker Goop, which is the new boomer, can call the horde if they explode on you. Okay, so just like the boomer. It's going to bring a bigger swarm because of that corruption card, and then swarm bloaters. Bloaters swarm this area, so there's going to be a ton more bloaters. And if they blow up on you, they summon an extra amount of zombies, it looks like, as well as stingers, ridden, bruisers, all that stuff. Another question that I have is, do you collect these cards passively, or once you have them, you always have them, or once you play a card, is it gone forever and then you have to find it again? I don't know. And I want to know. So the round's about to start, so this person is choosing their cards that they're going to play against the game director. That's the newest, most different thing about this game. In addition to the zombies not just being zombies, but they're actually more closely related to the Last of Us parasitic zombies. Although those are like fungal parasites, whereas this one is like a worm parasite. So they're slightly different, but in my opinion, those relate more closely than like the green flu. Another huge difference in the safe homes and the safe houses, whatever, is that you actually have to buy your upgrades. You have to get the Molotovs and the grenades and the ammos and the new guns by picking up currency, which I'm a little dubious about. I'm a little skeptical. How is that going to work in the long run? Well, basically, it kind of changes slightly how you play the game, because in addition to looking for secrets like other guns and ammo and pickups, which you still can get in the overworld, you now also have to look for money.
Charity begins at home, and this isn't home.
Okay. Sure. Ah, and there it is. There's the copper that you have to pick up. Luckily, though, there is still those things that you can find in the overworld, which is nice. And that's what I would expect. So we heard that guy on the radio, and that highlights two things that I've noticed that I'm really excited about. One is that we're not just trying to survive, we're actually actively seeking new places to hunker down and fortify, not just for us, but for other people as well. And one thing I'm curious, though, is that just an exposition thing? They just found some ammo. Or is that actual gameplay? And I think that's actual gameplay. But I'm not so sure about that. We'll see in the future, I guess, because I can't actually, play it. But speaking of more survivors that we're actively seeking to help, we actually hear a lot of that in the background, like. And so if you listen to the background, this is one thing that I love. You can hear people shooting, you can hear people screaming and panicking, you can hear all this other ruckus and commotion going on around you. In this case, we're at the top of a building, and we kind of hear that going out in the streets and the alleyways below. That's amazing. That's something that I've wanted secretly as a checklist, a check item, ever since the second Left 4 Dead came out way back in 2009, 11 years ago. Oh my gosh. Soon to be 12 years ago. How dynamic is that? Is that always going to be the case? Like, we always hear that panicking, pew 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 pew, type of stuff? Or will that kind of change the levels of intensity, and when we hear it, will that change every time we play? I hope it does, because that just gives so much more intensity and an exposition to the world as we play it. And if that's dynamic, then that's just really cool. So we can hear all those screamings, and so it's not just us four people that are out there in the the apocalypse. There's a ton of other people too, which kind of pumps you up. Like, oh, I gotta kill more zombies. I gotta save these humans. It's kind of exciting. Now, of course, typical Left 4 Dead fashion, he's about to heal his friend. A standard thing that we've always had, and it's the same here as well. This is in Left 4 Dead. This would be called a crescendo event. I'm not sure if there's an official term for Back 4 Blood, but a certain set piece that has to be done every single time that's not very dynamic, that alerts the horde. So that's what that is. So we know that we've got those back. So we've got all these like blood splatters on the hands. I'm wondering if that's also dynamic. So each gameplay, or each time you start the game, your hands are clean, and then the more you shoot zombies, more and more blood gets on you. That's brutal. Careful, birds can alert the hordes. What? So that's another amazing thing. Now, we had kind of this in a crescendo event from Left 4 Dead 1, the Blood Harvest campaign, where you ran through a cornfield and then a bunch of birds were startled, and then that alerted the horde. What it looks like now, another dynamic sandbox element that the game director has, is little murders of crows. Literally, a group of crows is called a murder of crows. And oh, there we go. Uh-oh. And so literally, it'll place these groups of birds as obstacles in your way. Interesting. I would also really like to have dogs. Not necessarily dog zombies, but then dogs, maybe they're scavenging for food. You don't want to startle them, because then they start barking, and then all the zombies come. That would be really cool. Just saying. Got a lot of those spitters. You gotta get Gotta get them, guys. So that I wonder if in the versus mode there's certain paths that you could crawl up as the special infected. I'm wondering with this guy is if you can just crawl up any wall because of your extra Machamp arms. Like the dev said, this is a modern game, or this is the classic, gameplay, but with modern game play elements, I guess. So we see the sprinting, we see the aiming down sights, and I think in a second here we'll also see that do that. You see you clambered up like that. So recent modern shooter games like Borderlands 3 and Halo, where they also have the clambering, and so that's going to, I imagine, open up certain vertical path opportunities. I'm hoping that these maps are a little more vertical exploration because of the clambering and the parkour. We'll see. I don't know. And this is another thing. Oh no, you're gonna let them in! So this is another thing that I'm just freaking out about, because there's this random guy who barricaded himself with all these plastic tables in the corner of this safe house. So we're not the only people using these safe houses. We're using them temporarily to run around, go from point A to point B. But ultimately, there's a lot of other people, non-player characters, NPCs, that are populating these maps. And hopefully this is dynamic. I don't know how dynamic that'll be. And I like that's just so exciting for me on a personal gameplay level, that we've got all these other things going on. It's not just us versus the zombies. It's us, and then there's a couple people over there, a couple people, people over there, etc., etc. And we're going into this safe house, and there's someone already in the safe house. That's just super cool, and that's something that I've wanted for a really long time. So anyways, I'm all kinds of excited about this. Obviously, we've had a few Left 4 Dead likes pop out in recent memory. World War Z kind of does this a little bit, but it's third person. Earthfall is a great example. I'm really, really liking that game still, 2 years later. That's a lot of fun. And then, of course, Second Extinction, Left 4 Dead but with dinosaurs, is coming out next year sometime. Second Extinction, Back 4 Blood, and Halo Infinite, those are all day one purchases for me. What are you excited about for 2021? Let me know in the comments below. Let's discuss. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you later. And as a matter of fact, I actually bought the Second Extinction beta on Steam. I should do a playthrough. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.